Hello fellow coin collectors and welcome to another video on the pennies and shillings channel. Today it's the turn of one of South Africa's most iconic coins, the Union Tiki or the threepence. Like with many of the other denominations in the Union series, it's completely possible to collect a full set of Union Tikis from 1923 until 1960 for a relatively small investment. Of course, that excludes the legendary 1931 and possibly the 1925 wreath. This also assumes that you are collecting well-worn examples. About uncirculated and uncirculated coins will set you back a bit more per coin, as you'll soon see. The tiki was an everyday coin back in the day, almost like a 20 rand note is today. It can buy you a loaf of bread or a litre of milk and almost a litre of fuel. Sadly, cars don't run on milk. The Union Tiki is 16.3 millimeters in diameter, weighs 1.4 grams and is just under 1 millimeter in thickness. It also has a smooth edge, which is somewhat odd. Most silver coins have reeded edges to prevent clipping. However, given the coin's small size, this is understandable. Tikis from 1923 until 1950 contained 80% silver, and those minted after 1951 contained 50% silver. The rest of the alloy was made up of copper. The last circulation tiki was minted in 1960, and the tiki's fate going forward was discussed at almost every meeting of the select committee at the time. People were quite sentimental about the coin. Gert Malan, director of the mint from 1961 until 1965, argued that the circulation of the tiki would increase during the transitional period until parking meters, telephone booths, colloquially known as tiki boxes, and vending machines transitioned to the proposed 5-cent pieces. Many prices of goods were being rounded up to a full cent as well, even though the half cent did persist for quite some time. During this time, supposedly 2 1964 nickel tikis were struck, so-called trial pieces, the existence of which is shrouded in mystery and even denial by the mint themselves. I could not find an image of this coin, and I don't even know the whereabouts on any of them. The late Dr. Frank Mitchell is known to have owned one of these. Nevertheless, it's an interesting piece of South African history. Let's have a look at some recent auctions, prices and values in terms of dollar and rand terms. But before that, I realize that using the current exchange rate for historic auctions might not be the most accurate. In light of that, I've decided to use the exchange rate on the day of the auction and then using the average inflation rate of South Africa from 1960 until today, which is 7.9%, to give an objective idea of the value of the coin at that specific point in time. I use the standard continuously compounding formula, PT equals P0 multiplied by E to the power of rate times terms in these calculations. I list both values to make comparisons just a bit more interesting. Now, like with the pennies, and like I've mentioned earlier, it's quite possible to obtain a full set of circulated tikis at a fairly reasonable price. Here's one such offer on a South African auction site, Bob Shop, formerly Bid or Buy. And of course, this includes both 1925 tikis. The tikis from 1923 to 1936 features King George V on the obverse and 2 different designs on the reverse. A wreath was used from 1923 until 1925, which was changed to a protea in the latter part of the same year. Besides the 1931, the 1925 wreath is the rarest tiki in the King George V era. There is also a 1935 3 overstruck variation in the same time period. This occurred sometimes where coins are used instead of blank planchets. Most of the coins are readily available in worn condition, and apart from the previously mentioned 1925 and 1931, they're relatively affordable, even in mint state condition. The proofs are a different story, and some years like the 1926, the 31, 33 and the 34 demand a substantial premium, and it's very seldom seen. In very worn condition, you will always get bullion value, about 20 rand at the moment for a tiki in this time period. This MS62 1923 tiki sold for $411.25 in 2012, the very first year the Union Tiki was minted, 100 years ago. Here's a 1924 tiki, also an MS62 that sold for $690 a few years earlier. The 1925 Protea design is more common than that of the 1925 wreath, and although somewhat scarcer in mint state compared to other years, it can still be obtained relatively easily, like this MS62 that sold in 2009 for $690. I could not find an auction for a 1925 wreath in mint state. This extra fine 45 sold for $299 back in 2009. NGC lists only 11 of these in mint state, including an MS65. I can only imagine what a coin like that would be worth. Over 100,000 Rand, that's for sure. A respectable 1926 MS62 tiki sold for $282 in 2012. This is the fifth finest known coin. A year later, this 1926 was put on auction, also uncirculated. However, this specific coin had a nick on the rim at around 2 o'clock. Coins like these are considered problem coins and are graded as detailed specimens. Because of that, it sold for a mere $28, barely covering the grading costs at the time. Coins that are cleaned or polished also get these details grades. At one point, all problem coins were returned in plastic flips, humorously and somewhat morbidly known as body bags. These days, however, some of these coins, like this one in particular, are still slabbed, but they are counted in a separate census. Of course, to the other extreme, sometimes a stunner of a coin arrives. Coins that should technically not have survived. Coins without any nicks or scratches or visible impairments. Here is one such example. This 1928 MS66 tiki is the finest known specimen as graded by the NGC. It sold in 2015 for $5,404. That was 74,000 Rand at the time, or about 134,000 Rand at 7.9% inflation in today's money. Oddly enough, for the 1929, MS66 is the second finest known, with 2 coins that's better. Because of that, an MS66 1929 sold for only $470 in 2014. Apart from quality, uniqueness also comes into play. If you want the creme a la creme of all coins, the best and the finest known, it comes with the creme a la creme price tag. Few things make your heart sink so low when another coin steals the finest known spot from yours. No video on South African tikis will ever be complete without mentioning the 1931 tiki. Of this coin, only 128 were minted, of which 62 were proofs, which leaves 66 circulation coins. NGC lists only 3 1931 business strikes, of which very fine is the finest known. It has 2 1931 details coins listed as well. Proofs were protected in collections and part of sets, so here you can find them if your pocket is deep enough. A total of 25 proof 1931s have been graded. A beautiful 1931 proof set sold in 2020 for $14,400, or around 275,000 Rand in today's money. I'm really curious. What do you think a 1931 uncirculated business strike will go for? Say an MS62 or something. Leave a comment down below. This 1935, which graded MS64, is the third finest known coin. There's only 11 that's known to be better. It sold in 2014 for $176.25. Over 1 million 1936 tikis were minted, and mint state specimens are relatively affordable. This MS63 sold for $46 in 2015. It's a pretty nice coin. Of course, by now you know the drill. The finest known 1936 is a MS68, a coin with some nice toning I might add, and it sold for $2,640 in 2018. That was almost 40,000 Rand back then, or around 57,000 Rand if you take inflation into consideration. From 1937 until 1952, King George VI graced the obverse of the coin. Until 1950, the coins maintained an 80% silver content, which was then reduced to 50% from 1951 onwards. For the tickies in this era, only the 1938 is somewhat difficult to obtain in high quality. The other years are pretty easy and quite affordable. This 1937 MS65 sold for $720 in 2018. It's the second finest known coin, with only one coin that graded better. This MS66 1941 is the finest known tiki, and it sold for $747.50 in 2011. Both these two coins are exceptional, and therefore the higher price. Coins with a slightly lower grade are traded for much less. This 1943 and 1945 tikis are both MS63s, and that's both beautiful grades, and it's beautiful coins. And it only has a few nicks or contact marks on them. And most of these you can only really see with a loop. They sold in 2011 for only $79 each. This 1948 MS65 tiki sold for $141 in 2012, and this 1950 tiki, also an MS65, sold for $104 in 2011. This date range is highly collectible, and high quality coins are readily available. It's actually amazing that these small silver coins, which are now easily over 70 years old, are still obtainable in virtually pristine condition, and for prices that are not much higher than the NGC grading costs. Queen Elizabeth II's portrait graced the obverse of the coin from 1953 until 1960. For all the years except the 1960, millions were minted, and the coins are very easy to come by and usually at a very low price. Anything besides uncircular is worth bullion value, around 10 Rand for a coin in this era. There's a MS67 1960 tiki that I'm currently watching on eBay. It's the finest known coin, and at $224 or around 4,000 Rand, it has yet to receive a single bid. Now, numismatics is an interesting hobby for a number of reasons. For one, the really interesting, juicy information is still only found in books or the heads of numismatists. Much of the information I share on this channel was sourced directly from books or from people directly, with none of the information actually available on the internet. Perhaps now this channel. It's also a hobby where you need to network and know the players in the market, other collectors and dealers. Now, one of the best places to network, learn and experience sheer numismatic passion is at a coin fair. Now, the first coin fair ever to be held in Bloemfontein will happen on Saturday, the 6th of May 2023 at the Windmill Casino from 12 o'clock until 6 o'clock. Entrance is free, and some great names will be present. Bring your old coins, notes and medals, and have them appraised by professionals. I hope to see you there as well. That's it from me. Keep well and happy collecting.